Two fake cops tried to arrest my wife right in our own driveway. Yeah, you heard me. Our driveway, middle of the afternoon, just a normal Saturday in Austin, Texas. 12 seconds after they tried, both those clowns needed facial surgery. You ever have one of those days where you're just trying to live a regular life, grill some brisket, watch your wife organize her vet supplies, and then out of nowhere, life kicks you right in the teeth? That was my day. The reason those guys showed up is something I still shake my head about. Honestly, you couldn't make this up. I'm out there living my best suburban dad life. My smoker's rolling, temperature holding steady, Texas sun pounding down. Maria, my wife, she's the kind of woman who could organize a hurricane if it stood still long enough. She's going through her mobile vet gear, humming to herself. For a minute, it all felt perfect, you know? The kind of peaceful, friendly neighborhood where you know your neighbor's kids ride their bikes and nothing bad ever happens. I should have known better. That kind of peace never lasts. I spot this bright orange notice stuck to Maria's windshield, practically screaming for attention. Final enforcement notice arrest authorized in bold red letters. I figured, okay, the HOA's gone nuts again, maybe something about grass height or the mailbox being the wrong shade of white. But as soon as I actually read it, my stomach dropped. It was fake, but man, it was a good fake. Looked just like city paperwork, like someone really wanted us to believe Maria was about to be arrested for parking her veterinary van in our own driveway. That's about when a white Ford Explorer pulls up quiet as you please and two guys step out in uniforms that would fool anyone not trained to spot the little things. Emergency lights, nice gear, confidence, yeah. But their badges didn't match the uniforms. And real cops don't give off that kind of nervous energy. My military instinct started pinging like crazy. The taller one, Colt, comes striding up to Maria, clipboard in hand, calling her Dr. Perry, all official, telling her she's in violation of city code for parking a commercial vehicle. His buddy Brad blocked her from leaving. They had the handcuffs, the posture, the attitude, but none of the real authority. Maria's not easily rattled, but you could see her fighting fear with her medical training, trying to keep it together. She asked to see a warrant. Colt starts acting annoyed. Brad starts closing in, telling Maria to turn around. That's when it hit me. These guys weren't cops. They were pretending, and they were about to put their hands on my wife. Let me tell you, there's a switch in my head from suburban homeowner to Delta Force operator, and those two geniuses flipped it without even knowing. I kept my cool, asked firmly to see their warrant and credentials. Got nothing but attitude. So when Brad grabbed for the cuffs and clicked one on Maria's wrist, I lost all patience. "Gentlemen," I said, my voice dropping into that old combat zone register, "release my wife. Now." Colt's hand went for his taser. Brad tried to grab Maria's other arm, and then the fight was on. Maria's phone caught the whole thing, 12 seconds start to finish. Colt never got the taser out. My elbow broke his nose and knocked him out cold. Brad came at me like he was a linebacker, but his moves were straight up amateur. Sidestep, uppercut. Good night. Teeth on the driveway, both guys unconscious, and I'm checking pulses and making sure airways are clear before the shock even wears off. Maria's hands were shaking as she called 911, but you know what? Her training kicked in. She started documenting everything, video photos, timestamps. 2 men down, head trauma, medical intervention needed. That's my wife, cool under fire even when the fire's in her own front yard. While we waited for EMS, I noticed Colt's phone on the ground. Screen cracked, but still on text message right there, "KG, make arrest stick. Example needed." Sent minutes before they showed up. I got chills reading that. EMS rolled up fast, did their thing. Both guys needed facial reconstruction. Colt's nose was toast. Brad's jaw was broken in 3 places. Reality check for anyone thinking about impersonating cops in my neighborhood. Detective Miller showed up next, took our statements, watched Maria's video, and looked over the fake paperwork. "Mr. Perry, your actions appear justified under Texas self-defense statutes," she said. But then she asked the question that's been burning in my mind ever since. Who's KG? Who paid these guys to come after us? 3 hours later, sitting in a police interview room, it all came together. Detective Miller ran some records, pulled up a name that made my chest hurt. Kimberly Green, our HOA president. Her initials match the text. But the real gut punch, she was listed as the emergency contact and beneficiary for Mark Stevens, my dead teammate from Delta. Turns out, Mark had sent a laptop to Kimberly before his final mission, and she'd been sitting on it reading his private journals about our deployments for 6 years. Detective Miller read through Mark's Pentagon records and journal entries. Turns out Mark got suspicious of Kimberly before he died. He'd reported concerns to intelligence officers, said she was asking too many questions about team operations and leadership decisions. But he died before the investigation ever went anywhere. Then things got even darker. Kimberly had paid $23,000 of HOA money, our neighbor's assessment fees, to a company called Austin Property Enforcement, basically funding her own private harassment squad. Her playbook: move into a nice neighborhood, become HOA president, start targeting military families with fake violations, legal threats, psychological games until they give up and move away. David Green, her ex-husband, turned over a box of evidence, contracts, payments, everything. She'd driven out 11 other military families before us. Here's the twist. This wasn't just about me being military. Kimberly blamed me personally for Mark's death. She'd read his journal entries about leadership stress, saw me as the reason he died in Syria, and built an entire operation to destroy my life in revenge. But David, her so-called community research consultant, had finally had enough. He gave us proof payment records, operational notes, even text messages showing neighbors like Mike Rodriguez and Mrs. Patterson had been roped in, some knowingly, some not. Kimberly paid people to gather evidence on me, edited audio, out-of-context quotes, everything designed to make me look unstable and dangerous. It got to the point where Maria sat me down and said, "Logan, this is systematic gaslighting. She's trying to make you doubt your own sanity so she can have you committed and ruin your life." David confirmed it. Kimberly's next step was pushing for emergency psychiatric evaluation using neighbor testimony, doctored recordings, and anything else she could find. You ever find out people you trusted have been reporting on you for a couple $100 thinking they're helping the community? That's a gut punch I wouldn't wish on anyone. Mike Rodriguez stood up at the next HOA meeting, money on the table, and said, "I'm keeping my debt. Logan's friendship is worth more than blood money." That moment cracked the whole operation wide open. Neighbor after neighbor stood up and admitted they'd been manipulated, lied to, or bribed. But Kimberly wasn't done. She lawyered up, filed a federal lawsuit against me, called in city code enforcers, health inspectors. She threw the entire playbook at us, hoping to bury us in paperwork and court dates. The harassment was relentless. Maria and I barely slept, waiting for the next attack. Then the Army got involved. Someone, gee wonder who, had fed them edited audio, fake psychological profiles, and Mark's journals claiming I'd violated operational security. The military launched a formal investigation into my leadership and my actions in Syria. I'll tell you, having to explain command decisions made in a war zone with the threat of prison hanging over your head, that's a kind of pressure I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But the truth always finds its way out. Pentagon investigators discovered Mark had filed a security report about Kimberly 3 days before his death, raising concerns that she was gathering intelligence under false pretenses. The Army dropped all charges against me, shifted their sights squarely onto Kimberly Green for impersonating federal officers, fabricating evidence, and targeting military families. Kimberly's downfall was as public as her campaign of harassment. In federal court, with half the neighborhood watching, David testified to her business of driving out military families for profit. They played audio of her discussing demographic improvement and targeting problematic veterans. She got 36 months in federal prison, $25,000 in restitution, and a lifetime ban from HOA positions. Judge Williams summed it up: military families defend this country abroad. This court defends them here. You'd think that'd be the end, right? But life's not that clean. 6 years after Mark's death, I finally got a letter from him, released by the Pentagon. Mark laid it all out, how Kimberly had manipulated him for information, how he tried to warn me, how he trusted my leadership even when the decisions got hard. Don't carry guilt that belongs to the enemy, not leadership, he wrote. I read those words with Maria beside me, tears in her eyes. The burden of self-blame I'd carried for years just lifted. Kimberly's house sold within a week of sentencing. The new owners, a young Air Force family, showed up nervous, worried about military-friendly neighborhoods after what they'd heard. I shook the sergeant's hand and said, "Brother, welcome home. You're safe here." Sunset Ridge changed after that. We started a memorial garden for Mark, raised money for military kids' scholarships, rewrote the HOA bylaws so nothing like this could ever happen again. Maria's vet practice expanded. Neighbors started looking out for each other instead of spying. Turns out the best revenge against someone who tries to ruin your life is to build something better than they ever imagined. Let me ask you, have you ever had someone close to you betray your trust for money or power or just out of spite? Did you see it coming, or did it blindside you the way it did me? And what would you do if your entire community was weaponized against you by one person's obsession? Tell me your story in the comments, because at the end of the day, justice isn't just about what happens in courtrooms or news headlines. It's about neighbors standing up for each other, rebuilding what was broken, and making sure nobody ever fights alone. If you've ever defended your family, your community, or your own peace of mind, hit that like, share your story, and let's keep the fight for real justice going.